What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video. Here to talk to you guys today about anti-cheat software in PC gaming and why Denuvo is so incredibly obnoxious and annoying. And really the fallout of what kind of happened with this whole Doom Eternal scandal. Before I get into that, though, hope you guys enjoyed the new layout. I worked pretty hard on getting a nice OBS layout. The real thrust of all of this began in the War Never Changes podcast. I hope you guys got a chance to watch that video, particularly episode 4. That was an entirely new layout, an entirely new way to record the stream with myself and my buddy Phil, trying to make it as best quality as we could make it with my limited knowledge on streaming and on OBS. I've been drinking through a fire hose on this thing as of late, I'm not going to lie. But I took some of that magic, I tried to port it over to my solo videos. That's what you're looking at now. So if you like the new layout, if you like the bubbles in the background and the way I've changed the borders, let me know in the comments below. I don't want it to be too over the top obnoxious. That's why I went with very mellow, very slow moving picture. But I'd like to hear from you guys because it's important to me. And, feedback's good, right? Hopefully positive feedback, but, say what you got to say. I'm a big boy. I could take it. So let's talk about Denuvo, though. And let's talk really about what happened with Doom Eternal and how can we prevent this from happening in the future? Well, it really goes back to the whole invention of competitive online gaming, particularly on the PC side, because us PC master racers and even us ultra-wide master racers know a thing or two about modding computers and modding computer games to have fun with them. Now, that doesn't always mean it is hacking or it is malicious. That just means that we have found ways to enhance our game experience. One of the earliest mods I can remember was playing Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. And back in that game, there was a limited amount of gold. You would go clear a dungeon, you would go into town to sell your items, and everybody would be out of money. The money did not always regenerate, and it was very hard to sell your items to buy better gear. So somebody came out with this really cool mod called Xur, or was it Zed? Zed. And Zed was a NPC in the town that had 1 million gold. Now, he would buy anything from you, so you could just sell him all your gear, get the money, and buy the stuff you wanted. Why they didn't put something like that in the game at the beginning is honestly beyond me. Is that a broken mod? Is that malicious? Of course not. That's a quality of life mod, and there are plenty of them, whether it's UI mods, whether it's sound effect mods. People do it all the time. The problem is, in a competitive space, when you start modding things, you give yourself an unfair advantage. I think a lot of us have probably played games where we noticed things that were a little fishy. I'm not talking about players who are really good or your buddy who's just popping off on every single headshot and just having a field day with a sniper rifle in a video game. What I'm talking about is people who could swing a sword and shoot a gun in Sea of Thieves simultaneously, inflicting almost instant amount of damage to pretty much one-shot anybody. Or the character in PUBG who you watch on a replay will be running in a straight line and then stop, instantly snap to a person and shoot them in the head. Unrealistic, just a single shot. We've seen it time and time again. You've probably seen lag switches or heard of lag switches, which is physical hardware, which inputs, it kind of changes the way the server and the client work together, allowing you to do incredibly ridiculous movements and tricking the game into thinking you're places you're not. Anyways, what have game companies been doing about this? Well, in the competitive space, it's very difficult to try to figure out how to stop this. And there's been a lot of clients that have come out in the past 20 years trying to fix this. Punkbuster is definitely one of the most common, most recognizable ones. We saw that a lot in the when Counter-Strike started to become a big game, and really in my life, thinking back on my whole career of gaming, if you want to think of it that way. Counter-Strike was really the first competitive game I think a lot of people really sunk a lot of time into, and building up clans and building up servers and having clan wars and going up in ranks and everything. That was something that I was very, very involved with, particularly in my first couple of years at college. I had a blast doing that, but If you wanted to cheat, you could. And Punkbuster wasn't that great of a solution at the time, and you could find ways around it. So somebody came up with this software called Denuvo. Now, what Denuvo is slightly different. Instead of looking at just one single executable on your computer, Denuvo gives itself kernel level access. And I'm not talking about Colonel Sanders. I'm talking about your kernel in your computer. And what that is basically is the keys to the castle. That gives Denuvo exclusive executive access to everything on your computer. The intent is genuine. It's to look to see what's going on, what processes are happening in the background. For example, right now I'm talking to you guys on OBS. That's one process I have running. On another tab, I have a Google Chrome window open that you're looking at on your screen. Yet next to that, I have another tab where I'm uploading a separate video. You're not seeing that, but it's happening in the background. So with computing, this is obvious. It's what Windows, and really it's in the name. But you can do multiple things at once, right? What Denuvo's goal is to scan everything all the time to see what's going on, to see if there's any code being injected or run in the background or macros run to prevent cheating. And in its, as I said, it's in intention, it's pure and it makes sense. The reality is you don't want to give anything that level of access to your computer because people can manipulate that and get access to your computer, number one. Number two, it bricks your performance because now instead of your computer just running the game, your CPU throwing all the resources into that, your GPU processing that image to give you the best frame rate, the best image quality, instead Denuvo is taking away some of that performance. And in some cases, it could be as much as 25% of your processing power. Let that sink in for a second. Your 60 frame per second game may drop now to 30 or 40 frames a second because Denuvo is running in the background. And even worse, if you are not playing the multiplayer game, it doesn't matter because Bethesda and their stupid ideas, whether it's Bethesda or id, I don't care, decided that this needs to run all the time, whether you're playing the single player experience or the multiplayer experience. And as a result, people lost their minds. And the reality is they were right to do so. So what ended up happening was people were basically going, this patch just came out on, I believe it was on the 14th of May, so just a couple days ago, about 6 days ago. They released, yeah, it says it here, May 14th. They released a patch that included Denuvo, and they said, we're putting this in because we don't want people to cheat on the multiplayer of Doom, which, as an aside, Doom multiplayer isn't that fun. It's definitely not tournament ready. It's definitely not something where people are going to go watch this for hours. It's not something that's established like Overwatch or League of Legends. It's just a fun throwaway. Let's throw a little game mode in the box, let people play with it, whatever. And don't take my word for it. Go on Twitch, go on Mixer, see who's streaming this. Nobody. See who's talking about it. Nobody. It just is kind of there, whatever. Why they felt they needed to throw the atomic bomb solution of anti-cheat software, Denuvo, into this whole this whole process to begin with is baffling to me. But they did, and here we are. So now people have lost their minds. People start review bombing this game on Steam. People start review bombing this game on Metacritic. There is a very, very aggressive social media campaign on Twitch and on Twitter, really, really going hard after Bethesda, who has had a rough couple of years, despite the fact that I still love them. Many others do not, and they have really, really been reeling. As a result of all of this debacle, Marty Stratton has come out and said, despite our best intentions, feedback from players has made it clear that we must reevaluate our approach to anti-cheat integration. With that, we will be removing the anti-cheat technology from the game in our next PC update. As we examine any future of anti-cheat in Doom Eternal, at a minimum, we must consider giving campaign-only players the ability to play without anti-cheat software installed, as well as ensure the overall timing of any anti-cheat integration aligns better with player expectations around clear initiatives, like ranked or competitive play. where demand for anti-cheat is greater. So in other words, what they're saying is there are people who are campaign only. There are people like me who don't give two hoots about this, who would uninstall multiplayer if it was possible. Unfortunately, they took a really bad approach. And I have to give them credit. It took them 6 days and a lot of negativity from me as well, even though I love Bethesda, saying, hey guys, you should not be doing this. Finally, they came to their senses and said, yeah, you know what, you're right. You shouldn't have to sacrifice performance for a multiplayer game that nobody really cares about, even if you want to do single player. Now, does that mean that they're not going to implement something else? No, it seems like they want to self-regulate this. But the key there, and I said it, self-regulation. This needs to be a community-driven initiative. World of Warcraft, I was hot and heavy into that game for about 6 years. A friend and me, this guy named Kopesh, and I were two rogues playing in tournament World of Warcraft, okay? So what tournament was is it was a 2v2 arena where we would go in and fight two other players to the death. It was a ranked system. You got points. You cashed in for rewards to get cool gear. It was a lot of fun, and we spent hours practicing, getting down maneuvers, figuring out strategies, and every so often we'd go into one of these arenas, just like some of the examples I named earlier with Sea of Thieves or PUBG or any of your favorite games, and people were cheating, straight up, no doubt about it. World of Warcraft had a system in the game where you could report players right there from the user interface in the game. You could say the date, the time, what happened, and you would write just a little letter, and you would send it off to the mods. And would you know it, every single time I reported a player for cheating, I got a response back from a human being at World of Warcraft's administrators saying, you know what, you're right. We're going to refund you that loss. We're going to give you the points that you earned, whatever it was. And that player's been banned. And that sent a very loud and clear message to everybody that players are self-regulating, self-enforcing, and cleaning up the mess. Now, in a game like Doom, a very niche multiplayer community, in a couple months, probably now, honestly, but definitely in a couple of months, no one's going to be playing this game except for the most passionate of fans. Let them regulate amongst themselves. Let them do that. Don't throw this kind of crap on there, guys. Let them self-regulate. Let them self-enforce. Put that system in place to allow them to report people. Put a system in place that allows players to report. And you know what? The community will clean itself up. The passionate people, the people that care, the people that make their discords, the people that stream this kind of stuff, the people that are the super fans, like I was in Halo 5, 4 years after the game came out, still tweeting about it, still playing about it, still making YouTube videos about it. Let people like me, except the Doom fans, regulate themselves. Get rid of all of this crap. It doesn't need to be so intrusive. It doesn't need to be so evasive. And I'm really happy that Bethesda did kind of overturn this stupid decision. It's just frustrating that it took this long, and it's really frustrating that it had to come to this. But it did. Here we are. Once again, the age-old debate of cheating rearing its ugly head, and many, many solutions, some with good intentions, some not so good intentions on how to solve that problem. So with that, I'd like to close out this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on Denuvo or on what's going on with Doom Eternal. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, on this format, all those great things and more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.